Welcome to the Scent of Beauty. My name is Susan, and I wanted to do a part 2 video on psychological bravado and also not just the bravado, the bragging over the top amount of stressors we put on our psyche by rolling the dice in relationships, um, depending on an outcome that initially showed us that the system of operation, that the odds are not in our favor. And then we talked about the modesty where we estimate ourselves, we estimate and see where we are, the estimation of ourselves, to not to claim attention based on boasting, bragging, uh, in an effort to impress another human being or a group. And we also talked about, the boulder, how we treat our psyche like it's a stone. And countless times I have mentioned that our psyche is very vulnerable. It's very fragile also, and rolling the dice um, on a superficial basis does not produce the scent of beauty. We talked about psychological matrix. We find ourselves in these in these regions in our minds where we are so trapped in our own thought processes, trying to find a way of escape. And so we keep on rolling the dice, hoping to gain another way out of the psychological suffering that so many of us endured at the hand of the guessing game. I want to talk about our nucleus accumbens and how in our nucleus accumbens there is that place in our minds where we find that there is pleasure, and also that same region where pleasure and pain is at the core of our decision. Rolling the dice initially is exciting, and so there is a pleasure that secrete out of a chemical reaction that occurs, dopamine. And the reason why I'm mentioning the chemical reaction, can you imagine as a child to be introduced to not only our moods, not only our actions, but to also introduce the chemicals that is associated with our decisions. And so the dopamine starts to secrete, and we find ourselves more intoxicated than sensible. And so we keep rolling the dice in relationships that are constantly revealing that it is not a relationship that affords us a place of well-being. I said it before. I'm not sure if I said it on one of my videos, but I remember hearing ignorance is bliss, but it is not bliss for anyone that's not benefiting from ignorance. And so that system of operation where 1 in 6 chances, that we have 1 in 6 chances to win, that's the crap game. So in the game of craps, what we find ourselves doing, the scent, at this time when we keep on rolling the dice and realizing we're not getting back what we expected. So at this time, we realize that there is a scent, and it's so quick and it's so obscure that it's almost at a lightning speed. And it's so quick that it passes our consciousness, but our nucleus accumbens secretes this dopamine. So we don't measure the amount of dopamine. What we have to realize is we see the effects of the dopamine. And initially, what occurs is when we roll the dice, we find ourselves in a conundrum where the initial faith and the progressive fear, right? So now we're introducing cortisol in the mix, another chemical reaction. And so cortisol is a stress hormone. So we have dopamine that is promising pleasure, but we have cortisol that is being released based on our fear. And these two are at odds, but they're operating simultaneously. I have heard it said that faith and fear can operate at the same time. I personally disagree with that statement. Yes, it can. In the game of craps, it operates simultaneously. Imagine both chemicals as trains, right? Their chemical reaction, both starting at the same place, right? We rolled the dice, and the cortisol and the dopamine are running like a train out of control and crashing into the command center, our psyche. And we find ourselves asking, what just happened? How did I get to this place, this region? And we don't verbalize it, but I think from my assessment, I think we label this trauma. I had to come to terms, and I wholeheartedly believe that my psyche is majestic. And the reason why I said that is because I had to learn to fold at whatever cost, to fold. No amount of dividends is worth the catastrophic impact that, living against the odds in relationship, it's just not worth it. We have the opportunity to increase our psychological sense of beauty with channels like my channel and other channels that we are afforded today to give us more information, not just self-help, motivational speakers, but really get down to what is my chemical reaction, and the impact that it's having on my ability to have loving, caring, supportive relationships that so many of us desire. What is the hindrance? If we increase our psychological scent, again, of beauty through information, then an automatic reaction in our nucleus accumbens will occur. It will light up effortlessly by the sheer amount of love and care and examination that we are taking. Just this moment to pause and take a look at Where am I? What's going on in my mindset? And stop allowing the dopamine and cortisol to have the primary hand in our relationships, in our well-being. We don't judge having the fair and the fate that operated at the same time. I know for myself, I did the best that I knew at that time. I dealt the hand that I had um, initially, but with the scent of beauty and with inform and having information that we could make informed decisions for ourselves. We don't have to keep rolling a dice. We could fold. And in folding, we find ourselves on another path where we don't have to gamble. We have enough. Thank you.